Prestige worldwide. Why?
Prestige worldwide.
Prestige Worldwide welcomes you to the following presentation of the League of Extraordinary Dicks.
Welcome one, welcome all to the League of Extraordinary Dicks podcast. I'm your commissioner, Mr. Cody Luck, with my co-host, Mr. Drew Riley.
Howdy.
What's going on, Drew?
Oh,
How we doing
just hanging
today?
out. Another beautiful day. Another day with the boys. It's always a good day. Well, minus one today.
Yep, we are down one co-host today. No fault of his own, but Xana was being the good public servant that he is. He was on call for the city of Concord and had to go out and go fix some water main breaks. We hope to have him back next week. No fault of his own, just being a working man. Gotta do what you gotta do.
Every girl's crazy about a hard-working man.
Drew, I don't know how you feel. As far as how's your NFL season going? Because I can tell you it's probably a little bit better than mine.
Let Baker bake, boys. You know what I'm saying? What a day! What a day he had. Almost 400 yards. Looking good. Defense looks good. I'm excited where Tampa's at right now.
I wish I could say I was surprised, just because he did so badly in Carolina last year, but I'm just not. If I look at the totality of that particular circumstance, we traded for him in the middle of training camp, and Matt Rule is his head coach, and Ben McAdoo was his offensive coordinator. Peyton Manning and Tom Brady would have failed.
You got to see his offensive weapons that he got over there. Evans, Godwin, White. They're just everywhere. He's got weapons compared to last year.
I'm just not surprised that he's doing well. I mean, this guy was the number one overall pick at one point, Heisman Trophy winner. So clearly he's talented. I think it's Matt Rule and that Panthers organization is that bad he is thriving in Tampa right now.
He's looking good. I'd say it was a good week and all for. Even the Tar Heels did good, so can't complain.
Well, Charlotte lost, so we're probably gonna lose again this coming Saturday too. Let's stay in the world of the NFL and let's go ahead and jump into our matchups this week. Drew, I think you're gonna have our game of the week, which was Kellen versus Brendan.
Yes, barn burner came down to Monday night again between Brendan and now his foe Kellen. Brendan pulls out the squeaker on top, but he pulls it out in heartbreak because he loses number one overall pick, old Chevy. And I didn't want to see that picture of the knee. I didn't want to see the picture, and I got to see it, unfortunately. And
well, fortunately, Russ sent us that picture. Fortunately, it was just a steal shot because it's much worse in the video. It's so much worse in the video.
Overall, their teams played. Kellen, the only thing Kellen's team really downfall this week was his flex. Putting in Breece Hall against Dallas' stout D. That's a questionable call there. But
that's a Robert Saleh mistake there. That's not a Kellen fault. That's a Robert Saleh.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. I think Brendan's player of the game is the duo he has in Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert. Put together a solid combination, which ultimately led to his, the QB wide receiver tandem. That's where you go. It's proven to work in the last couple of years. I think Jeff, when he won his first year, he had Allen and Diggs. You won with Brady and Evans?
Brady and Godwin? Yeah.
Brady and Godwin.
That was a good stack. And
then so it's proven to work. It's looking well. So Kellen's team overall performed well. Besides the flex, if it wasn't for the flex, everyone scored in double digits for him. So overall, he has a good week.
Yeah, this was a very, very tight game all the way through, and as we touched on with the Nick Chubb injury, he needed every one of those 6 points he got from Chubb to pull this one out. So it was a very close win. And again, as I previously mentioned, if Breece Hall is given the normal workload that Breece Hall should be getting, Kellen walks away with this easily, but I don't know what has happened in New York. I guess they've lost their mind since Rodgers got hurt. But Breece Hall put up huge numbers for the Jets last week, and they just completely abandoned the run game. And I just don't understand it.
4 touches. for that guy. Not going to get it. Won't cut it.
Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely
Think-
ridiculous.
I got a feeling Jets trade for a QB soon. If they want to go anywhere.
Yeah. You trade for one, or do you go sign one? I mean, there's not much on the market. I mean, as much as I love my boy Cam, he's one of the names that keeps coming up. I just don't see it happening. I think he's transitioned to life after football by this point.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to trade. Andy Dalton looks like a candidate for him. So, you never know.
they have to come off the hip because the Panthers are hurting bad. So they gonna make the Jets pay for it for sure.
Why not?
Yeah, just looking at the rest of the Kellens team here. I mean, Justin Jefferson with another great game. Jared Goff putting up a solid performance. This is kind of I always am a little cognizant of a matchup like this because he started Jared Goff. However, Brendan got Amon-Ra. So any touchdown pass to Amon-Ra, I mean, that's actually 2 more points to Brendan with it being a receiving touchdown and 6 points. So I'm always a little cognizant of that, but it didn't look like it affected him too much this week. DJ Moore finally got on the board. And as the Justin Fields owner, it's lucky that he even got 104 yards because Justin Fields, he was hit over and over again by the Tampa defense. And then the other time he'd want to run. So from what I can tell early, just 2 weeks in, this is a let me get the ball to DJ within like 5 yards of the line and then just let DJ run. Is that what you're seeing? Because they played Tampa yesterday.
I watched the whole game, so it was crazy because the first drive he had 64 yards, 2 catches, 64 yards, and never went back to him until late in the fourth. So Fields looks like he's trying to be a pocket passer, and he just needs to let the legs run free. But that line's pretty atrocious down there.
At least give the other team the impression that you're going to run, right? Like, run just enough to where they have to respect it. But, I mean, I personally would love to see him start throwing the ball more, but I just hope he figures this out throughout. So with it being the beginning of the season and down the line, he'll get a little bit better passing the ball. So
I will say the one good bright spot about Brendan's team losing Chubby, he has Brian Robinson, who's gone off the last 2 weeks as the running back.
Currently top 5 running back in the league, Brian Robinson.
So
I wanted to ask your thoughts on that. I'm glad you brought that up. Kansas City scoring is down. Washington scoring is up. Is the Eric Bieniemy effect here?
I think so. I do. I know everything went through Andy Reid, but Bieniemy, I mean, let's look what he's doing down there with Sam Howell, not Mahomes. And I mean, I know Andy Reid's there, and they'll probably get it figured out, but Bieniemy's showing that it wasn't just Andy Reid up there in Kansas City.
Brian Robinson's respectable, and I think Bieniemy is going to revive the career of Terry McLaurin. I think Terry McLaurin is going to be a respectable wide receiver going forward.
Oh yeah, McLaurin on Cam's bench.
Exactly right.
6 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, just say he puts McLaurin in, and he wins. In the flex spot. It's just one of those things where fantasy is a burden sometimes.
It's tough to make the right call every week. It's absolutely tough because, I mean, with it being week 2, we still don't know what we don't know yet. And then just to put a bow on this game here, Amon-Ra, another solid performance, 102 yards. It would have been better if he didn't drop the ball. He had a lost fumble. You touched on that, Herbert and Keenan Allen, that stack. I think when I start talking about my game between Russ and Jeff, we're going to really harp on the fact that Josh Kelly was not a factor in this game because Austin Eckler was out. Mm-hmm. Justin Herbert had to put the whole offense on his shoulders, and he spread the ball around. But Keenan Allen was the main recipient there. So really, really big day at the office for Herbert and Allen, and Brendan benefits from that. And then finally, last point, your boy Rachaad White doing work down in Tampa.
3 down back, he looked good. And then Edmonds got hurt at the end of the game, so it's just more and more his backfield.
I watched just a little bit of that. I watched like a recap of that Bears-Bucks game. It looked like Rachaad White was running just enough to where Chicago had to respect it, because then Baker was killing him on the bootleg. Or no, on the play action. Killing him on the play action.
I mean, I think he averaged, it was like 3.54 yards a carry. So, I mean, puts the defense in the box to open it up and pay the man, by the way. Just pay the man. If they let him walk, I'll be so upset. But,
he looked slow on that 70-yard catch. He looked slow.
It'll be all right.
We'll
We'll
see.
move on to Joe and Douthat's team. Douthat was the beneficiary of a loss this week. I think he is 1-1 now, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
1-1. Unfortunately, Lawrence could not find the end zone. They were in the red zone, I think, 4 times and came my way with 3 field goals. Can't beat Kansas City on that, and you definitely can't win fantasy with that. Joe with Josh Allen and McCaffrey as his duo doing what they do best. And Debo even stepping up for San Fran after Ayuk had a shoulder injury. Ayuk had a shoulder injury, which led to Debo becoming Debo again. And then McCaffrey is just McCaffrey. I think unless he pulls up with a hamstring injury, I don't see a team stopping him, unfortunately.
Nope. That one also hurts to watch because he's just used him incorrectly here in Carolina. But they have found the correct mixture in the Shanahan offense with McCaffrey and Sam Depot obviously benefiting.
Mm-hmm.
They ran all over the Rams yesterday. There was not really a need to pass because the Rams just could not stop the run.
Nope.
So and that's how they got Debo involved with he had 63 yards receiving, but he had that end around touchdown as well as 38 yards rushing. So
Kenneth Walker, I think he had 2 short touchdowns, but hey, 2 short touchdowns get you points, and that's what you need. James Conner, bright spot for Arizona's offense after blowing a 28-10 lead or 28-3, one or the other. I can't remember which one it was, but overall we saw Matt's team get bit in the butt by the double Atlanta running back duo. We talked about it last week how we thought it was going to be a hot thing, but they kind of led just more to Bijan this round.
Yeah, it was definitely his backfield for sure. And he made had another play where he was just making video game jukes this week, and it was absolutely insane to watch. But I think when you see more and more plays like that from Bijan, it's going to be really hard to turn around and continue to justify giving the ball to Algier. If something happens to either one of them, I mean, the backup is right there, and I don't see any drop in production should that happen. So, because Algier is just as lethal as Bijan.
He's got a good combo there, but the problem here is he has no more decent running backs on the roster. He has the backup for Seattle and Cam Akers, who's probably getting traded away. He was a healthy scratch, so Douthat is fighting hard for running backs right now. Gainwell's hurt, and who knows when he comes back. Drake
London on his bench finally decided to show up. Yep, six receptions. They finally started looking his way. I mean, that was just a shootout between them, the Falcons and Packers. Great comeback by the Falcons. But, yeah, just a really good game to watch.
Hate to see it.
I do hate to see it.
But
looking over at Joe's team, Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things. Continue to spread the ball around. I noticed he had like 7-8 different receivers or targets on the day. He was just spreading the ball around. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis were the main beneficiaries, but he did such a good job of spreading around. It was hard for the Raiders to really cue in on anyone. Showing some signs of life in Denver from Cortland Sutton. I mean, Russell Wilson had almost 40-point game. I think he did have a 40-point game, but it was insane video game numbers. But still ended up losing in a shootout with Washington. And then James Conner, I know you touched on it a moment ago, but about him being a bright spot, but I don't think James Conner has the success that he's having without Josh Dobbs being a little bit of a threat, because they keyed in on James Conner a couple times, and Josh Dobbs had a 25-yard touchdown run right up the middle.
Oh yeah,
great play.
Didn't see that coming either.
I always kind of like Josh Dobbs because he was like studying rocket science at Tennessee when he was there. I just thought it was so wild. Of course, the quarterback's the smart one on the bench or on the field. So yeah, just this probably would have been a different ball game if Matt had a little bit more help from old Trevor Lawrence. And Algier. Really, the rest of his team looked pretty good.
Joe moves on to 2-0, and both Kellen and Brendan, we didn't touch on, are 1-1 now. So good battles going on right now. We're going to move on to Mr. Luck and Mr. Zano's game. Mr. Luck, the highest scoring point getter in the league right now, with a 120-something last week and a 138 this week. again, led by Senior. Well, not led by, but Tyreek Hill. I think he had another touchdown again.
Yep,
I can't
sure did.
remember. So touchdown, and then the late switch to put Mike Evans in because he wasn't in there at the beginning. I feel like I can't remember, but what a play by you had there. So good play. Justin Fields. We talked earlier in the first game. He still had 14 points, but you want more from the quarterback position, in my opinion. And then Mostert locking up number one, even if Jeff Wilson comes back, playing very well right now in Miami. And then Hawkinson on Thursday night against tough Phillies D played well. So,
which I played again. I'm more cognizant about things like that because I did start Hawkinson and I also started Phillies D, but fortunately Philly ended up balling out. They got 3 fumble recoveries, 2 sacks, basically enough to offset it. So I mean, I lucked out there. But what am I gonna do? Like, Philly's arguably the number 2, number 3 best defense in the league right now, and
you just
got to go with the talent.
Just let it flow. Bright spot for you is you have Kirk Cousins on the bench.
Yep, he's the highest scoring player in fantasy right now. Might be getting the start next week.
They have no run game, so I mean, Mattson fumbled, I believe, I think once, and so it's just they have no run game. They let Dalvin walk. Don't know why still, but they let him walk, and Mattson's not proven to be Mattson, as he was. But switching over to Zano's side, you got some good play from Lamar. Devontae finally became Devontae this week. Got a nice, I think he had 100 yards maybe and a touchdown.
Had 90 yards. 90, yeah.
So, but other than that, we had Montgomery scored a touchdown, and then Zano's hurting right now, unfortunately.
Zano needs to get to week 4. He needs to get to week 4 real quick because that's when Kamara comes back. Jonathan Taylor can come off the PUP. Cooper Kupp comes off the IR. He needs to get to week 4 real quick.
Yeah, well, what? Kamara comes back week 4, Kupp and Taylor week 5 because they got to miss 4 games.
Oh, okay.
Got to miss 4 games, but he's hurting and love the guy to death. And he drafted so good. It's just his studs are. He's going to have to make a run come week 4.
Yeah, just going on a tear throughout the league.
Lowest scoring player right now. And so it's just, he didn't put up bad numbers. It's just Mr. Luck over here, commissioner. He's just throwing up. It's hard to beat 130, 120 games,
He's got a lot of talent there. He's just got to get him back on the bench. That's all it is. And hopefully he's able to snag one. I'm not wishing against you, but if he can snag one against you or in the week 4, that'll go a long way to helping him get some momentum going.
For sure. Yeah. But
cool.
Then you move to 2-0. Zano moves to 0-2. Anything can change in fantasy, but off to a great start for you. Zano, he's kicking into gear.
I've got lucky. No one's gotten significantly hurt yet, but I mean that's the case for a lot of leagues. I actually was texting Matt Douthit that little stat I told you guys the other day, and I'll tell the league. So I was running I still am doing some things with the website as far as running stats, but Matt Douthit's only missed the playoffs 1 time since 2016, and that was in 2017. He missed it, and when he came back in 2018, he won the whole thing, which I thought that was incredible stat. So when Matt talks his trash on the Facebook page, he's got the numbers to back it up. So, but I thought that was interesting tidbit there. But yeah, that's his case. He's injured as well, that's Matt said that everyone's getting injured across the league. It's a significant player, so it's just going to be a war of attrition. Make sure you hit the spot on the waiver wires, work out some good trades in your favor. It's a long season, and we're just getting started.
It's about trade season. Normally week 3, it's when you start seeing some fire off.
Yeah, after that first 3 weeks where the division is coming into play, or after the division play, that's when you start seeing trade offers going through.
We'll let you switch on to yours. Who are you going to start off with today?
So I'm going to go with Russ and Jeff first. Jeff getting the victory 97.74 over Russ with 77.7. Just some observations from Jeff's team starting out. He made the switch to Brock Purdy at quarterback this week. I understand the thinking, but as I mentioned earlier, San Francisco was just absolutely, there's no need to pass the ball. They were just running all over the Rams all day long. I think he only had like 24 pass attempts. The defense was just smothering the Rams, and they got up early, and they just wanted to keep running the ball out. Between the playmakers of McCaffrey and Debo, there was just no need for Brock Purdy to start throwing the ball around. So Garrett Wilson's numbers are big. Garrett Wilson did not have a good game. And we expected this after the Rodgers injury. He was targeted 8 times. I made note of it. He was targeted 8 times, but he only caught 2 passes. It's just that one of them went for 68 yards and the other one was for a touchdown.
68-yard was a touchdown, wasn't it?
It may have been. One of them was, I guess, one was a touchdown, one was 68 yards, but that's where he got the majority of his catches, or excuse me, his points was off those 2 plays there. Again, is this Robert Saleh losing his mind because he didn't start handing the ball to Breece Hall, and they also didn't give the ball to Garrett Wilson was able to catch it a lot. And I also made a note here that Dallas had time of possession. Their time of possession was 42 minutes and 15 seconds. So there just wasn't a chance for Garrett Wilson to do anything when he was on the field. So hopefully that gets a little bit better for Jeff as the weeks go, because Dallas is arguably the surprise team of the year. I mean, we expected them to be good, but not that good.
No.
So hopefully they'll be a little bit better going they move forward next week. Tyler Lockett, and I said this during the draft recap show. This is a Tyler Lockett game that for some reason he has these games like once or twice a year, and he'll finish as like a top 15, top 12 wide receiver because of the games like this. Only 59 yards receiving, but he had 8 receptions for 2 touchdowns, including the game winner in overtime, putting up 21.9 points for Jeff. But that's the risk. I mean, obviously you would like consistency from a player, but this is the potential Tyler Lockett. On the other side of the Garrett Wilson thing, Jeff also started Tony Pollard. As previously mentioned, Dallas had the ball for 42 minutes. That's a lot of time for Tony Pollard to just get touches, run the ball, run the clock down. They got up big, very quick. So yeah, that he just benefited from really garbage time plays. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah. So he caught 7 passes out of backfield. I think that was because the Jets D line. They're getting through. It's just, what are you gonna do? You know, I mean, they get the 4 or 5 yards every time, then they hit a big play. I think that was as beneficial for that for sure.
Yeah. So Jahmyr Gibbs, not a bad game from Jahmyr Gibbs, but Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to do big things probably starting next week with David Montgomery having I think it's a bruised thigh as his injury is. Yeah. So Jahmyr Gibbs should see some increase in touches. Yeah, not a bad game with 9 points. I still don't entirely get the Dalton Kincaid start. I watched the recap of that Bills game, and I mean, he did target Kincaid a lot, and I think there was like one run for like 20 yards, but I mean, I'd go try to find a tight end, like someone more consistent.
Yeah, no, you got Dawson Knox, and Dawson Knox is the red zone threat, so he's going to have to hit, he's going to have a touchdown to kind of make fantasy relevancy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame him, because you're going to hear me say it ad nauseum on this podcast, is that tight end is such a difficult position in this league. But I think this is just my guess, but with me running the stats for each team each week, I do feel like there's an increase in points in the tight end position. I can't tell you how much yet. I will at some point. But I do feel like there's an increase in points. So
I think you're going to see an increase in everybody's points. It's amazing how much just a half a point makes a difference in this league now.
It surprised me, but I think it's for the better though. Like I'm happy with these scores across the board. I mean, I would like for them to be a little bit closer for the sake of like, hey, let's beat the hell out of each other. But I think people are putting up high numbers. I've not seen but like 1 or 2 teams score in the 50s or 60s over the last 2 weeks. Yeah. Hey, Jeff, in case you don't know, Puka Nacua, probably the hottest wide receiver in the league right now, set an NFL record for receptions over his first 2 games. Let's get him in the starting lineup.
15 catches. It's like Cooper Cup all over again. Yeah, that's called a fantasy waiver steal right there.
It absolutely was. And he got him with no competition because with Jeff drafting 12, he was the number 1 on the waiver wire, and he got him with no competition. So Nakua should be in his starting lineup next week, from what I'm guessing. We'll see what he ends up doing. But switching over to Russ's team, Deshaun Watson played better than his score. I did watch this game today, because I was obviously at the Panthers game last night, but I did watch this game today. They just had to completely put the offense on his shoulders when Nick Chubb went down. There was not a ton of run support, but he tried to be vintage Deshaun Watson in this game. I mean, did you get a chance to watch any of it?
I was flipping back and forth. You definitely, I don't think necessarily Cleveland's in a bad spot. Their backup, Jerome Ford, he played good. I mean, he had 16 carries after and 100-something yards, but one was a big total for like 60-something. But either way, I think when you see a knee injury like that, I think your whole team gets deflated when you know that's your number 1 player on the team. And so I think everyone just kind of got hit with the wrecking ball on that one.
Well, again, from what I saw, he tried to be a little bit a vintage Deshaun Watson. He was making some scrambling in the pocket, making some runs. He was making some passes downfield. He's just trying to get him going, but there's just not a lot of good skill players. I know Amari Cooper was a little banged up, but he still ended up playing. But I just felt like Deshaun played better than his scores. That's all.
He definitely did. But I think that Steelers D line too. I mean, they're gonna get you. And I think they were without their starting like 2-time first team All Pro right tackle, like Jock Conklin or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, and TJ Watt's on that side, so not good. Not good.
Stephon Diggs, it was an average game, but he had solid production. 66 yards, 7 receptions, so no touchdowns. But as I said earlier, Josh Allen did a great job of spreading the ball around. Chris Godwin. So I put initially, and I know we've talked about this, I put initially that he's probably going to be second fiddle. I put, quote, second fiddle in a surprisingly good passing attack. But I don't feel like that. I actually don't believe that anymore. The way Baker distributed the ball, it makes me think it's going to be a little bit about how they were, like Godwin and Evans were when Brady was there, where it was 1 week, it was Evans was the one was putting up tons of points. But then Godwin the next week or the next 2 weeks was the one he was the workhorse, so he'd have a down the field bomb. And Baker's ball distribution was really good. So I actually feel like that's a little bit more accurate, but they'll end up going back and forth. So, and it was a solid day for him. I mean, 8 points or 8.3 points, but really good potential there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Because I feel like he's going to have his time to shine as well.
Yeah. There's always going to be that game. You try to double Mike Evans and then God won't shine, or you try to put. We got two, in my opinion, we have 2 number 1 receivers on one team, and so it's gonna be hard to distribute the ball. But I mean, just like you said, Mike Evans is gonna have a 8-point game while Godwin has an 18-point game, and it might be flip flop the whole way, all year long.
And if you're Russ, you hold on to him, you start him every week just because of the potential. Derrick Henry, it was a very slow grind him out game. It was like 25 carries for 80 yards, but he salvaged it with a touchdown. No explosive 60-yard runs with a stiff arm, put someone in the stands. But I mean, that's the kind of production you expect out of Derrick Henry. I mean, Russ was able to get him in the second round, so pretty solid. I already touched on Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly was his big waiver pickup and for those who don't know, Russ doesn't spend his waiver priority too freely. He holds on to that thing like it's gold. But he's spending on Josh Kelly, and the Chargers were just passing. They were just passing that game.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, passing game. I think Tennessee's line's pretty good too. I mean, even against the Saints, I think the Saints only had like 40 yards total rushing. Eckler's the main guy. I think Kelly benefited for Eckler more than anything when he was in the game.
Yep, I agree with that. Last point I'll make here, Mark Andrews making his return this week. He was surprisingly not Deshaun's number 1 target this game, Aguilar was his number one target, which is bonkers to me. A man's been a journeyman, and he's not known for his hands. I'll tell you that.
He left a lot of points on the bench, unfortunately. The main one being Zach Moss. That was kind of the one I was like, I didn't see that coming. But I think Anthony Richardson and him, it's almost. Let me put this because I don't want you to get a chubby in the middle of the picture. Anthony Richardson's looking like Cam almost right now.
Oh, I call him Baby Cam.
And so I didn't watch it. I don't really, I can watch all the games, but the Colts and Texans did not interest me. But the guy, I think he had a 20-yard and a 15-yard touchdown run before he got hurt in the first quarter. So I mean, just imagine what that game could have been for him.
And then final note here, Russ has got Aaron Jones and J.K. Dobbins on the IR. So just to give a complete picture of what Russ was dealing with, I mean, he lost by 20, but again, he's got two of his studs on the IR. Aaron Jones should be coming back. I think he's being a little optimistic with J.K. Dobbins. I've heard that he's going to try to do that miraculous thing that Cam Akers and that Aaron Rodgers is attempting, but I think it's a little optimistic here. But that's just to give a whole picture of what he's dealing with. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
And I think I can't tell Michael Thomas is going to be Michael Thomas. It's just quick slants. So I think the big threat, deep threat, Michael Thomas is gone. I think it's just the quick slants for him for now on.
Well, honestly, if he ends up being the number 3 wide receiver for New Orleans and all he's good for is moving the chains, then that's better than I gave him credit for.
Yep, for sure.
Let's move on to the next one. This next one is going to be old Chicken Little Flea Flicker taking on Steel City. Sarah, the highest scoring team in the league this week with 139.68 points. Got me by like a point and a half. And then Shaq put up a respectable 92 points. It's just when you run into a team that's going to put up nearly 140 points, I mean, there ain't much you can do about that. Sarah's still not getting the production from Joe Burrow that she was, but I do think T. Higgins made up for it with the double touchdown.
For sure.
8 receptions, 2 touchdowns, and then 89 yards receiving. So,
yep, zero points last week. So, good game. Good game.
Yeah, he's just evening it out. Devonta Smith. Okay, who do you think? I know we're week 2 in. Who is going to be the leading receiver in the season for the Eagles? Is it going to be Devontae or AJ Brown?
It worked so well for me last year, AJ and Hurts. I think everyone's kind of realizing AJ Brown's back, and I think AJ Brown's still the deep threat, while Devontae Smith's the intermediate to deep threat. So I think Devontae Smith might end up leading this one this year.
That's who I'd put my money on, is Devontae Smith. I mean,
AJ's not going to get his points.
Yep, I agree.
But I don't think this is last year.
This is like the new version of what we talked about with Evans and Godwin, right? I mean, with AJ being Evans and Devontae being Godwin. I just think that's a very fair comparison. And I think it doesn't matter who, each game, it could be a different lead wide receiver. So, James Cook finally put up a respectable game, a game that I can be like, okay, he's going to do something now. Nearly 18 points. Yeah, so he did most of it running. That was what was surprising me. He only had 4 receptions with 36 yards, but did most of his damage on the ground, which, again, I did not see coming. I figured he'd going to be like a scat back.
Yeah. I said, I think last week that I like James Cook, and I think that Jets D's kind of for real, and that's why he didn't break out. When you got Josh Allen back there who can throw it, it's going to be hard to play that offense.
Yeah, it might just be a case of too many good weapons on the field. Gabe Davis was a threat yesterday. He scored a touchdown, and again, Stephon Diggs didn't have a huge game, but the threat of Diggs is enough to roll coverage his way. So, I mean, I think James Cook just benefited from those linebackers playing off the line, safeties playing back. So, and got 123 yards of rushing is very impressive. So, maybe that's something he can continue.
Yep.
A.J. Dillon, I mean, pretty lackluster day. Didn't really capitalize on the open touches from A.J. Dillon. 6.8 points. You're hoping for better because he's a respectable backup running back, but just didn't really put it together. Travis Kelce, he got a touchdown.
He's back.
He got a touchdown, which I suppose is what you're looking for. A little underwhelming. But I mean, listen, for the tight end position, 10.6 points is a steal.
Yeah, but it's also the first round pick, so I think you'd want more production from your first overall pick. But they also said they said he was like 80% and with his knee, so he's not full strength yet, and I think that's why you didn't see him down the field as much as you normally do.
I mean, he's on the field, and the threat of Travis Kelce being Travis Kelce is enough to let Jacksonville respect him. Another solid, it wasn't extraordinary, a solid day from Michael Pittman. But, I mean, again, if he keeps putting up 10 points a game, I mean, that's such a good production to get him as late as she did. And then what really put her over the edge was, and you touched on this earlier, was that Pittsburgh defense. Putting up 26 points for her, her highest scoring player on the team. And they just dominated Cleveland.
First play of the game, pick 6. I mean, can't ask for more.
By former Charlotte 49er, Alex Highsmith. Go Niners. And in case anyone else was wondering, Larry Ogunjobi starting defensive tackle for the Steelers. Charlotte 49er. Go Niners. So, representing up there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think Shaq had a catch-22 of that game because you get excited about the Steelers, and then you're like, oh, crap, I'm playing Pittsburgh defense.
Well, Shaq's fine. I saw Shaq this morning, and he made a point to laugh at me when I got in my car at work. He's like, how about those Panthers? So he's like, I don't care if I'm 0-2. He's like, because I'm not pulling for the Panthers. So, yeah, he's doing just fine. Don't you worry about him. His feelings are just intact. So, moving on to Shaq. Patty Mahomes, decent game with 305 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. He had 1 interception. So solid from him. He probably should have beat his projection. He ended up putting up 21.2 points, but should probably put up a little bit more of that without the interception. So we touched on Joe Burrow with talking about Sarah's team. Are you concerned about Jamar Chase at this point? Because Jamar Chase, only 31 receiving yards and 5 receptions, 5.6 total points. Are you concerned about Jamar Chase at all?
I don't know if you recollect, before even fantasy, we talked about Chase at my house for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I wasn't big on him. He's a boomer bust. He's the deep threat, and when he has his games, he has his games. But T. Higgins is the more consistent catcher on that team, and I know they're going to pay Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins I think he gets not as more space per se, but he's a better route runner, I think.
Is this one of those things of you're concerned about Jamar Chase? Or if you're a defensive coordinator, you want to make sure you cover Jamar Chase and you will take your chances with T. Higgins? Or is this just a disconnect at the moment?
But it's like the Philly and it's like Tampa. You have 2 ones on your team. You know, who's getting the ball?
Well, I mean, Baltimore's tough. So I know they're 0-2 and everybody in Cincinnati's panicking, but Baltimore's tough. So at least they showed a little heart this week as we're opposed to week 1 they got blown out by the Browns. So I'm not as worried about Cincinnati. I think they'll right the ship here in the coming weeks. So we'll just see if that translates into points. Yeah, that's true. That's true. DeAndre Hopkins, 40 points, 4 receptions, 6 points total. Not a stellar game, but again, that was more of a lot of a big rushing attack from Tennessee.
I think Hopkins might just be past the prime.
Just a big name at this point.
I think you're just living off the name. I don't know. You know, I want to say he's still Hopkins, but he can still make the big catches. It's just he doesn't have the speed anymore.
You touched on this earlier. Travis Etienne only putting up 5 points. He left in the 4th quarter with cramps, so he should be back. But he does have a questionable tag at this point. So 5 points is an underwhelming performance. And then I do want to move on to this because this might be the surprise of the week. Because I guess what I'm saying is if I give you the kiss of death on one of these podcast episodes, you might as well just go ahead and start that player the next week. Because last week I said DeAndre Swift is not who we thought he is. And then he proceeded to shut me right down. Yeah, just a huge game from him.
I think he had the benefit of the doubt of Gainwell going down. I think that was Gainwell's backfield until he got hurt. He played a hell of a game. I mean, What do you have, like 174 yards rushing, something like that?
175, 3 receptions, and 1 rushing touchdown. And that's actually where I wanted to re-harp on this. Jalen Hurts stole 2 touchdowns from him. This little bullshit of let's do the quarterback sneak and we're all going to push Jalen over. Screw that, man. If you're Shaq, you should be furious because that should easily be almost a 40-point game from DeAndre Swift because he did the work on all of those drives and then Jalen just gets to rush the 1-yard touchdown in. It's bull. Yep. It's bull.
You love it when Jalen's on your team, but it's when you're watching the game, you're like you feel bad because he worked all the way to get to the 1.5-yard line, and then just to Jalen. I mean, you can't stop it, so I mean, it's almost pointless not to do it, but it just sucks for him.
I guess. I'm just a mad fantasy player. That's all it is. Because if I had DeAndre Swift, I would be furious. Like the man did all the work, but Jalen gets the 6 points. That's just trash. Final player I'll touch on, Gus Edwards. Very respectable outing against Cincinnati and replacement of J.K. Dobbins, putting up 12.2 points. Yes, so 62 yards and a rushing touchdown. I still feel like Shaq said Tua's on the block. I think he's going to end up rescinding that because Tua is playing so well as far as in NFL. He had a kind of lackluster game this week in fantasy, but he's spreading the ball around, so there's no need to go look for your running back that he was looking for when Gus Edwards is now easily a star for him. That and DeAndre Swift stepped up this week. So if Jamar Chase finally, gets his head out of the sand, then Shaq's probably going to be very dangerous. And I know he's 0-2, but if he puts it all together within the next week or two, I'd look out for Shaq.
His team will figure it out. Just like Jeff, I think he needs to be tight end searching, though.
Last game. We talk about you and Chris Bowen. Congratulations on getting the first win of the season. That's and it's a division win. Division win, that's always a big one.
Yep.
Drew pulling out the win. Go ahead.
I was the beneficiary of the Jalen Hurts, as we were just talking about.
Yep. It also shouldn't have been as close, in my opinion, because of that. But Drew pulling out the win, 98.14 over Chris Bowen, 86.42. What are your thoughts on Jordan Love, man? He put up a really good game, and he spread the ball around.
Yep. 3 touchdowns. He only had like 150 yards, but, I mean, he's not throwing the dangerous pass, which, I don't hate. And when he gets Aaron Jones back, I mean, 2 solid 20-plus point games for fantasy. I'm not going to say he's my QB1 going away, but he's going more and more looking like it because why not?
Well, it's nice to have your backup quarterback start playing well because, I mean, respectable game of Jordan, but Dak did work too with 19.6 points, but he was sitting on your bench this week. Yeah, two good play from both quarterbacks. The best game of the season so far from CeeDee Lamb, 143 yards on 11 catches. And that's what's great. That's 5.5 points from just catches alone.
Yep.
So that's a huge one. And it made up, like, that performance helped close the gap because Calvin Ridley had a lackluster day with only 32 yards and 4.2 points. So the production that CeeDee Lamb had covered the slack for Calvin Ridley.
Oh yeah, hey, he was.
So
I like for them both to connect on the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no kidding. And you're right though because Calvin Ridley had 11 targets and 8 receptions last week. So clearly Trevor Lawrence is looking his way.
Well, I think he had 8 targets, just 2 catches this round. So I mean, he's looking. It's week 2. So
yeah,
not getting hopes up yet.
Do you want Dak Prescott, like when they do finally come together, would you like Dak to be the quarterback at that point? Because he'd be throwing touchdowns to CeeDee.
I prefer Dak, yes, because CeeDee has no touchdowns. So right now, Dak is in the starting lineup for next week. So let's just put it that way. I want Dak to work out because he was the first QB I drafted. I only drafted one QB because I thought Dak was going to be the answer. So
and he may very well end up being. But now let's talk about the sad part of your lineup, Drew.
Mm-hmm.
Your boy Saquon, huge day, 24.2 points. But we don't know how severe this ankle injury is. He suffered an ankle injury very late in the game. I've heard it's a quote normal sprain, which I suppose is better than high ankle sprain. But I still don't know. We still don't know how long he's going to be out of the lineup.
No. Dable came out today and said that he's not ruling out Saquon yet. He's not playing Thursday, but I don't think they're going to rule him out for next week by no means.
I mean, I know you don't want to hear this, but if I was Dable, I wouldn't roll him out there because, I mean, why? If it is a normal sprain and it's not as serious as a high ankle, just let him rest because you'll have all this week, Thursday, all of next week to get ready, and then I mean, even if it's still a little ginger by the end of next week, I mean, you can probably he'll still be able to probably suit up if it's, and again, that's if it's a normal sprain.
No, even if he does play this week, I'm not starting him. I think that's just gonna give too big of a risk of re-injury.
Yeah, I agree. And then I went to that abomination of a Panthers game last night in Charlotte. Miles Sanders, listen, you can't tell me that they weren't trying to get Miles Sanders the ball. That's the one thing the silver line I could take from this, because it was Miles Sanders up the middle all night long. It just never went anywhere.
No. I didn't understand why they kept trying the middle, but that's...
Well, and then one of the plays, they did it twice actually, but they brought Andy Dalton in to replace Bryce on 4th and 1. And instead of running up the middle, they pitched it outside and let Miles Sanders actually run. And it's just such a novel idea that, like, we can run somewhere besides the middle and we actually get, like, positive yards. So,
yeah.
In case you can't tell, I'm a little heated. A little heated because of the Panthers.
A little heated. And let's just go ahead and get this out of the way to Kittle. I drafted a tight end high, and he's not producing. Okay.
Is it too many weapons on San Francisco? There's only one football to go around. A lot of mouths to feed.
There probably is. I mean, I don't want huge production, you know. I just want the 8 to 9 points, you know what I'm saying?
I understand. I mean, we keep talking about these a slight jump in points for tight ends. You kind of need to see some coming your way. Solid game from Pacheco, 70 yards. He's going to start getting some more touchdowns, I feel. I think the touchdowns are coming his way.
He had one touch for 4 yards in the first half, and then he had 10 for 69 yards in the second. So it just depends on which Kansas City shows up, I guess.
Now, who was Jerick McKinnon, the other one? Like, he's getting main touches in the first half?
I don't know. I think they were just throwing the ball, truthfully. I didn't watch it, but I just kept looking at my phone and realizing that Pacheco wasn't touching the dang ball.
Gotcha. And then Justin Tucker missed on a 61-yarder. No, it was a 59-yarder. That's what it was. Missed on a 59-yarder. Pretty much would have been a touchdown. And that's just very rarely happens. But if you're gonna take a kicker in the 10th round, and I can say this because I took Justin Tucker in the 8th round a couple years back. That's why you draft Justin Tucker, is to make those long range kicks, because he very rarely misses. So you have to be happy with the fact that they're even still taking those shots.
Yeah, I mean, you all have faith in him. So I think anybody who doesn't have faith in him is dumb.
Arguably the greatest kicker in NFL history. He's definitely the most accurate. So, and to close this show out, let's go over to Bowen's side. As I expressed my interest previously, Jalen Hurts should not have 25.2 points this week, but he somehow vultured 2 rushing touchdowns from DeAndre Swift.
Thankful for the callbacks for A.J. Brown, because that could have been game changers.
Oh, absolutely. That'd put you, that'd have been a big one.
I would have lost because he had a 40-yard touchdown callback. So,
Well, A.J. Brown did not have a A.J. Brown type game with 4.9 points. That's why I asked that question earlier about him and Devontae. I do think that you're right, though. There's 2 number 1 wide receivers on that offense. So, and they're probably going to swap high scores every week. So,
for sure.
Moving on, he's got George Pickens. Now, I didn't look at this. So he actually did take George Pickens fairly early. He took George Pickens in the 6th round, which I didn't realize he took him that high, but Pickens is looking like a pretty solid connection.
Yeah, it scared me last night.
127 yards, one receiving touchdown, and they were cooking. Like, as the game went on, they started hooking up more and more. So that'll be a match there. And if Pickett can get some help in the running back position, that's not like Jalen Warren was great for him, but Najee Harris he is so bad, and it just shocks me that he's that bad.
Not looking good.
He got Bowen got no help from his running backs. Alexander Madison, as we touched on, had a fumble, 3 receptions, and 28 yards rushing. He finished with 3.4 points. Jamal Williams, 2.9 points. No help from there. Got no help from Kyle Pitts, who's probably one of the most athletic people in the league. Just cannot seem. They just don't want to throw him the ball, and I don't get it. Kyle Pitts finishing with 2.5 points. And then
I think if Heineke comes in. If Heineke comes in that offense and they let Ritter step away, I think Kyle Pitts is going to shine.
Well, when that's going to happen, right? They're going to put Heineke in against Tampa. And we're just going to have Baker and Taylor Heineke just be the gunslingers that they are.
Oh, boy.
That's just what's going to happen.
I hope not.
Bowen tried to cash in on the success of Brandon Ayuk with this week. However, Ayuk let him down with 5.8 points. Injured his shoulder. Did you see that injury at all?
I think he just landed on it and he tried to play through it the rest of the game. I don't think it's anything serious necessarily. But then,
so he actually had Jalen Warren on the bench too. Put up 10.6 points, which was pretty respectable. And Austin Eckler still on the bench. So that's probably where you stole this win, which the win is win, especially a division round with Eckler being out.
I think I got a bright spot in old Kyron Williams.
Oh yeah. I'm so glad you said that. He might be the pickup of the year so far.
So I got him, and let me just double check and confirm. I am number 1 on the waiver list, so Jerome Ford will be coming my way. So
wow,
I'm getting another running back coming.
Good for you. I'm glad to hear it. So that's exciting. Congratulations to our week 2 winners. This is our week 2 recap. I wanted to give a shout out to Brendan. Brendan texted me today. Wanted to know when we were posting the podcast, as he's been enjoying the show so far. So want to give a shout out for him. Thanks for listening up in the DC Baltimore area. So
yeah.
Drew, you got anything? Got anything for us?
I'm gonna go with matchup of the week.
Okay.
I'm going to give it to old Kellen and Rusty. It's going to be a nice, tight game coming along. Both 1-1. Both going to try to squeak out a win. And I think it's going to be one of the better games, I think, going on this week.
So next week is rivalry week, the first rivalry week of the season. And if I'm just going off projected scores, right now it looks like me and Bowen are literally 50-50. He's projected to beat me by 0.13 points. So that'll be exciting. Both at 102.5 versus 102.63. So I'm going to take that one. And I said all along that I've really, really liked Bowen's team. I don't think he's going to be Princess this year, but obviously I'm 2-0. I'm trying to go 3-0. So I'd like to see you pull out a win over him.
But yeah, like you said earlier, I appreciate everybody who listens. So I enjoy doing this, and I hope y'all guys enjoy listening to this.
Yep, and we'll have our main host Zano back next week. And Zano does a much better job emceeing than I do, and we look forward to having him back. So thank you guys again for listening. We appreciate it, and we will see you guys next week.
Peace out.
Yeah.